rental cars. Pretty much everyone has used them at some point. And most people are used to traditional companies like Hertz, Avis, or Enterprise. They've been around forever, and by now they've built a system that works well enough for the average traveler. You show up, pick from whatever fleet they have that day, sign some forms, and off you go. The prices can sometimes be surprisingly cheap, and other times the fees hit you out of nowhere. Even when it goes smoothly, it's not always the perfect experience if you're someone who wants to rent a very specific car, especially something like a Tesla. Companies like Hertz once had huge ambitions for electric vehicles, Teslas in particular. They famously went out and bought around 100,000 Teslas, hoping to completely transform their rental business. The problem was timing. They bought most of those cars at the peak of Tesla demand, when prices were high and resale values were unpredictable. Over time, those cars depreciated faster than expected, and Hertz eventually ended up unloading a huge chunk of them. Admitting that things didn't go the way they planned, this all opened the door for something new. We now live in this app-based world where everything from taxis to vacation homes can be scheduled instantly with your phone. We use Uber instead of taxi companies, Lyft instead of waiting on the street corner, and Airbnb instead of booking hotels. Even though these platforms sometimes come with their own issues, the convenience and customization they offer is undeniable. They've created opportunities for people who want to earn money by renting out what they already own. And one of the biggest examples of that shift is Turo. Turo is essentially the Airbnb of rental cars. Instead of going to a big company, you rent directly from someone who owns the car. Turo has exploded in popularity because it offers things the old-school rental companies never could. Airport pickup, personalized service, flexibility with times, and most importantly, the exact car you want to drive. You want a Tesla? A Porsche? A Jeep in a specific color with a specific interior? Odds are someone near you has it listed. For renters, Turo can be fantastic. I've personally used the app many times specifically to rent Teslas when traveling. And when you get a good host, the whole experience feels seamless and premium. But things change when you're on the other side of the operation. Being a Turo host can be great, but it also comes with headaches and responsibilities that are rarely talked about. Today, I'm breaking down my entire experience as a Turo host. Why I joined. Why I quit. Why I came back. And the wildest horror stories along the way. My Turo journey really began back in 2020 when the Tesla Model Y first launched. The excitement for this car was huge. It was the newest vehicle in Tesla's lineup. It filled that perfect crossover segment, and demand was insane from the moment it was announced. I received my Model Y in March of 2020, right before Tesla shut down their factory. That meant I received one of the first 2,100 Model Es ever delivered, and people were absolutely desperate to try it. When I listed it on Turo, it rented almost instantly and stayed booked for long stretches at a time. Pairing that with the fact that I was already running a YouTube channel where I talked about the Model Y a lot is the perfect situation. I was at home. I didn't need the car every day. And the popularity of the Model Y meant there was a long list of renters eager for a chance to test the newest. Tesla, it worked out great until the accidents began. The first accident happened early on. A renter of mine was driving, obeying traffic laws, minding their business, when someone rear-ended them. Thankfully, the renter wasn't at fault, and neither was I. It was the other driver's responsibility, and the repairs ended up costing around $11,000. It sounds scary, but insurance took care of it. Tesla actually recommends going through the at-fault driver's insurance in these situations. So that's exactly what I did. I paid nothing out of pocket, but the process was far from smooth. My car was out of commission for 3 weeks, which meant no rental income. I also had to learn quickly about diminished value claims, how to negotiate with body shops, what Tesla approves, and how to stay on top of everything. This was the moment when I realized that being a Turo host isn't the passive income dream a lot of people assume it is. In total, my Model Y completed about 26 trips before more issues came up. Many of the renters were amazing. They treated the car well, returned it clean, and were excited to finally experience a Tesla for themselves. But then came the second accident, this time in Pasadena. I was the one behind the wheel when it happened. I got rear-ended in the carpool lane on my way to a gig, and it turned into another huge repair, this time around $23,000. Again, the other driver was at fault. So, insurance covered it, but the stress adds up. That's when I realized I needed help. So I brought my dad into the operation to help manage the cars, especially since I was adding more vehicles. Shortly after that, another issue hit. A renter took the Model Y up to San Francisco, and during the trip, a major axle failure occurred. The repair ended up costing around $6,000. What made it even more frustrating was that Tesla believed the damage likely came from a previous renter, but nobody could figure out exactly what caused it. The car had to be repaired at a Tesla service center in San Francisco, which meant coordinating logistics, retrieving the car from hundreds of miles away, and factoring in the extra costs of time, towing, and inconvenience. That ordeal alone would have been enough to make many hosts quit. But I kept going. As my business grew, I added a 2021 Plaid Model S to my fleet. This car brought in solid profits and attracted renters who wanted to experience Tesla's fastest, craziest sedan. I ended up hosting 44 trips in that car alone. But the Plaid also brought its own headaches. Curb rash became a constant issue. The front bumper and underbody sustained minor damage more times than I can count. When you rent a car like the Plaid, you quickly realize that people drive it very differently than they drive a Model 3 or Model Y. You have to accept the fact that, on Turo, curb rash is inevitable. If you leave a car on the platform long enough, you can almost guarantee every rim will be destroyed by the time you retire it from your fleet. With the business expanding, I eventually hit a point where I had 3 Teslas listed at once: the Plaid Model S, a used 2018 Model 3 mid-range, and a 2021 Model 3 standard range. Between all 3 cars, I hosted a total of 86 trips. It sounds profitable, and at times it was, but it also became a full-time juggling act. My dad was helping a lot with charging logistics, swapping cars around, dealing with parking, and prepping cars for renters. Meanwhile, I was handling the communication claims, cleaning issues, and tracking mileage. Even though I had help, the stress never really went away. The problem with the Turo business is that it doesn't matter how many systems you put in place. There will always be some unexpected issue at the worst possible time. Cleaning alone was its own battle. Keeping a car spotless between renters is essential, but it takes time. I tried outsourcing to hand wash places, but the costs add up quickly. Sometimes I'd wash a car right before a rental, only for the renter to cancel at the last minute. Turo allows cancellations up to 24 hours before the booking without penalty. When that happens, you're left with a freshly washed car that sits outside, collecting dust before the next renter arrives. To make the listings more appealing, we added perks like unlimited miles and free supercharging. That definitely helped attract renters, but it also had consequences. People began booking long road trips, very long ones. One renter took my Model 3 on a 2,000-mile road trip. Halfway through the trip, they claimed the tire damage they noticed had been there when they picked up the car, which was completely false. Even after we told them we would pay for the tire and made arrangements for repair, they refused to take care of it. We eventually had to involve Turo support just to get the tire patched enough for them to drive it back. When the car finally returned, it was filthy and had multiple new issues. The Plaid Model S had its own nightmare moment. One day I opened the Tesla app and saw the speed indicator reading 145 miles per hour on a normal road, not a track. That not only violates Turo's speeding policy, but it also puts me at risk of losing the listing entirely. From that point on, I used speed limit mode whenever someone rented the Plaid. It felt ridiculous to have to babysit grown adults. But that's part of the reality of renting out a high-performance, electric car. Then there was the renter who booked a trip and assumed without ever asking that I would pick them up at the airport in the car. That wasn't part of the listing, wasn't something I ever offered, and wasn't stated anywhere. When I told them this, they grew frustrated and ended up leaving a 1-star review. Luckily, Turo reviewed the chat logs and removed the review because it was completely unreasonable. By 2022, after dozens and dozens of trips, multiple insurance claims, thousands of dollars in repairs, constant cleaning, annoying last-minute cancellations, and endless back-and-forth messages. I made around $28,000 in total revenue. Sounds great on paper, but it came with a level of stress that most people never see. Turo can be profitable, but it is not passive income. You have to be ready for repairs, accidents, damage disputes, cleaning, coordination, and constant communication. You have to accept curb rash, stains, scratches, and all kinds of wear and tear. You have to accept that someone might take your car on a coast-to-coast trip and bring it back looking like it survived a dust storm. You have to deal with people who claim damage wasn't their fault, who treat the car like it's disposable, or who simply ignore the rules. You also have to be prepared to advocate for yourself with Turo support, insurance adjusters, and Tesla service centers. What I learned through all this is simple. Turo can absolutely work. It can be profitable. It can even be fun at times. But it requires a level of patience, structure, and toughness that most people don't realize when they see shiny YouTube videos about Turo passive income. It's not passive. It's hands. It's time-consuming. And depending on your renters and your fleet, it can be extremely stressful. Even so, I learned a ton, gained experience, and eventually came back to Turo after taking breaks, because when it goes right, it really does feel rewarding to share these amazing cars with people experiencing them for the first time.